My other question is outside of the starting rotation, which I guess is not really a concern unless somebody, gets hurt. What is your biggest concern? Is it still the bullpen?
Oh, well, it's a Mets bullpen. So despite the credentials that they have, you never feel comfortable. Gosh, Edwin Diaz was so good for Seattle, and he was so, how we say, erratic for the Mets, to put it kindly. And Familia, had a real renaissance in Oakland for half a season or less than half a season, and we saw what kind of year last year was. We don't know what kind of shape Betances is in, so that's a concern unto itself. I'm always interested in the defense where the Mets are concerned because they put so little emphasis on it. And, right now, Robinson Cano hasn't played or hasn't reported, or he's reported and they haven't brought him in. And then so you wonder, well, that changes the infield. And if you're moving McNeil to second base, well, who plays third base? Do you put J.D. Davis there? J.D. Davis isn't a great third baseman, but he's not a great outfielder either. And, you have this this abomination known as a designated hitter. No offense to the American League fan among us here, but I think you can only play that card once per game with somebody who has trouble fielding, and right now that would probably be Cespedes. Of course, the fact that Cespedes even looms as a possibility in the lineup is a bonus, I suppose. So this is never a team, at least it hasn't in generations, made defense a priority. So, the bullpen and the defense are sort of in the same, in my mind, sort of in the same package, in that they can cost you a game that you think you have in hand. So I'll be curious to see how all of that plays out.
Yeah, Greg, that's great points. We both agree with you as far as that goes. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here for one quick second. Like I said, I'm a Yankee fan, but I've followed the Mets for years. Do you believe that the Mets have a legitimate shot at the World Series this year?
I think so, but only because it's 60 games. And again, if it was 162, I think sure, but then you really have to think it through. And not to be too cute about this, I think almost everybody has a legitimate shot, certainly to get there, to get to the playoffs. And once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen in the series of short series or, a one-game series where the wild card is concerned. Listen, you have DeGrom, and that's, every 5 days. That's fantastic news. I feel pretty good about Stroman. I feel pretty good about Matz. And so that you're talking about 3 out of 5 days. And I feel good about the lineup. And I don't feel, I don't know what Luis Rojas is going to be like, but I figure he's got to be better than Mickey Callaway. So without knowing everything else that's going to happen, not only with this roster, but also with the teams that they'll be playing, and they'll only be playing, 9 different teams. I think it's just, I've never had a sense of a season being so up for grabs because it's 60 games. But this is not this isn't a team who I think you can punch their ticket and say, well, they're definitely going to be in the postseason. It's also not one of those teams where you say, well, they're just going to be a punching bag for somebody else. So I think they've got as decent a chance as anybody in their division. I mean, you got 4 teams in the division other than the Marlins who seem viable. And there, all you can do is watch and try to figure it out. But I feel okay about their prospects. I have to be honest with you. I haven't really, even what are we, like 10 days away, something like that?
Yeah.
I haven't been laser focused on the 2020 Mets as an actual competitive entity because it has just seemed so far away and surreal up until the point they reported and started working out and started having intra-squad games, and the fact that there is going to be an exhibition series between the 2 New York teams this weekend is only beginning to dawn on me, and that this is supposed to look like real baseball pretty soon. We've been without it since the middle of March, and
listen, Greg. Something.
I've still kept an eye on the original schedule just out of habit. Like, we'd be in Miami right now. We'd be coming into the All-Star break now, that sort of thing. but it all feels so distant and far away, and now it's going to be something real. And we still don't really know if it's going to happen. So
Very true.
it's all the whole thing just has that up for grabs feel. But if they get there, then I'm willing to take my chances with that. If I'm one of 30 teams with a chance, then I'm a baseball fan, and I've got baseball to watch, and that's okay.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you. In fact, I got more faith that the Mets are going to do a lot more than a lot of the Met fans do, because I do like their starting roster. I do like their pitching. If their bullpen holds up, I think you guys got a great shot. So let me ask you, are you currently writing a book on the Mets now? And if so, can you give us a hint of what it would be about?
I'm always kind of writing a book about them.
Right.
Getting it together. I've had like 3 or 4 ideas I've been batting around, not really having committed to any of them. I would like to finish a series I began several years ago called The Happiest Recap, which is in essence the greatest wins in team history. It was designed to be several volumes. I got volume 1 out there some years ago, dealing with 62 to 73, which I think is just like sort of the wonder years of the Mets. Not only are they born, but they go through their growing pains. And, you got 69, you got 73. So, the next volume is 74 to 86, kind of those middling years to the basement years to the Renaissance years, and ultimately the World Championship. And then, the rest of the centuries in the 3rd volume. And that's just something I haven't completely put together from a publishing standpoint. Would like to get that done. Some other ideas I've been kind of kicking around. Mostly I wind up putting my energy into the blog, Faith and Fear and Flushing, that I do with my friend Jason Fry. And, and plus whatever else I have going on in life. But I certainly hope to publish some more books before long, and I appreciate you asking.
I have one last question before we let you go, because I gotta ask everybody, and I don't get the Mets on all the time because Mac, he's a Yankee guy, so he tries to sneak them Yankee guys, and you gotta be careful. Gotta ask, give us a regular season record. Where do you think the Mets go?
Oh gosh, I haven't even thought about it, but I'll make one up on the spot. 60 games. What will get us into the playoffs? I'm going to say 38-22, and I just made that up.
That's what Mac said. I was more of like 35-25 or 32.
Well, you know what? I was going to say 35-25, but I was thinking that probably won't do it, and I want to be optimistic. Mm-hmm. For me to sit here and give you a number, I would have to sit here and get out my calculator and do every other team's records that they're going to play, because normally you do the whole league and your interleague rivals and whatever. So if I could spew any amount of numbers. I'm going to be optimistic and say a winning record, which I don't take for granted. I mean, gosh, last year they were like 11 games under 500 around this time of year, and they turned it around and finished 10 over. In my heart of hearts, this is such a weird year. I will take anything that's good, and say, listen, if they were to somehow go all the way, I will say it was a legitimate season. It was as great as anything they could have done in 69 or 86, or, if they'd gone a little further in 2015, that sort of thing. But if they don't, I'm just going to say, well, it was too weird a year. What do you want?
Right.
Expect from this sort of thing. So, you know what? If I, at 4:10 p.m. on July 24th, if I have the date correct, Friday, July 24th, Jacob deGrom throws the first pitch of the season to whoever's leading off for the Atlanta Braves at Citi Field in front of nobody, but still with a television audience that will include me, I'll consider that a victory. And they can, get through 60 games, and all of their opponents get through 60 games, and the players who are, slated to play, knock on wood, like everybody else in this country, may they be healthy, and may they see, only good times. I think that'll be something of a victory. And then again, listen, if they lose 4 in a row and they're 5 games out, I probably won't be so cheerful. But for now, just the idea of baseball sounds good.